right, everybody. Welcome back. This is Chicago Archery. We want to thank Wings of Severance for that awesome intro. Once again, they'll be playing, I didn't get the date, but they're going to be playing at Blarney's Island, I think at the end of the next month, the end of June. So look on their website, Facebook, and all that other stuff. You can get all that information from there. Once again, if you have anything to add or not to add, I'm not going to let you add shit to my show. But I am going to ask you to, if you have an email or you want to contact me and call me names, it's CA to the point, CATOTHEPOINT @gmail.com. That's the podcast email. If you have anything, if you want to check us out on YouTube and see how freaking good looking I am, that's at Chicago Archery's to the point on YouTube. And if you are watching us on YouTube, go down to the bottom and smash the like and subscribe. Man, we really could use some more subscribers. It helps out a lot. I don't get paid for shit. It just helps out, with getting it coming up in feeds and more people get to use it. If you're in a podcast, one of the 14 or 16 that I'm on, hit like. Since I'm not like honed in, I don't have a ton of people on just one. So what you do is you listen to it on iHeart in your car. When you're at work, you put it on your Google podcast. And then when you're at home with your lady and she wants to hear my sexy voice, you can put it on your iTunes one or your Alexa or whatever. Yes, you can get me through your Alexa. All right. So all that craziness done, I'm going to put us back on for the YouTube people to see. So like I said, if you like and you want to see us, we are at YouTube, Chicago Archery's to the point. And today I'm going to have an introduction. I have the queen of Chicago Archery on today. Yes. My daughter, the one and only Jessica.
Hi. I never know how to get into these things. And I worked in radio for a very long time. I just never know how to introduce myself.
Yes. So, as most of you guys have been to Chicago Archery, or if you haven't, Jessica pretty much is my right hand. Not only is she my daughter, but she does a lot of the web stuff. A lot of the emails that come back that are nice are from her. If you talk to her on the phone and she's nice, it's her. If you want to know if we have anything in stock, contact her.
That's true. I do the inventory.
I just order shit. I'm like, that looks cool. I want 12 of them, 15 of them. And she's like, where now am I going to put this? Like, we just got all those releases in.
Every time a box comes in, I'm like, oh gosh, where's there more room?
Yep. I love cool shit. That's no doubt about it. I love cool shit. When it comes to archery, I'm an alcoholic in a liquor store here. I love the neat stuff. And so that's Jessica. The reason I have her on today and is mostly because she handles most of the public in the lessons. As most of you have known, I have foul language, and my daughter is not allowed to have foul language.
Even at 29, everybody.
So true.
It's not allowed.
It's not allowed.
The soap in the mouth, it's still a thing.
Yes. You better believe it. So what we do is I'm, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, we got going here. So what happens is Jessica deals with all obviously the beginners and the new in our group classes and all that. And it's really become a really cool thing, especially because of the COVID.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And everybody coming back and getting to see their faces again. That's been kind of nice. And then the interest just went up in archery insanely in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. I think the news said that year it was 17%.
Yeah. So now, do you notice the lesson time schedule has changed because of COVID and people working at home?
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of students coming in earlier than they normally would. We get more weekday lessons now because people are at home. So they're taking their lunch break and coming in, or they're taking their kids from home if they're still stuck in like the computer or anything. They're taking them out of the house, getting them here and getting them outside and active again.
Yeah, and like a lot of adults are doing it now. Like instead of having to actually go get their lunch, they're snacking and getting fat during the day, and they're able to take their lunch and go do something.
Right.
You
right.
know, they go to the gym or they come to archery lesson, you know,
Right.
like once a week and stuff like that. You want to move that in?
Yeah, I'm gonna move it towards me a little bit.
So you're not leaning there. There you go. So as you guys know, these podcasts are recorded start to finish. I don't edit them. You get them raw. So if we fuck up, you get them. If I accidentally fucking swear, it happens. All right.
Accidentally.
Yeah. It happens all the time. God, I hate talking to little kids because they look at me like, oh my God.
They call you out on every single one.
Yeah.
Like, you said a bad word.
Language, Bob, language. All right. So let's get into the lessons.
Yeah.
Jess, your focus. Now we've talked about this, and because of some of the organizations, we felt that some of the way that yes, we are by our fire station. Yeah. Tell you live, man. So what happens is that we have set and we have worked very hard,
Yes.
you especially, on how to explain something to a beginner.
Yes.
I want you, instead of me bragging all the time, I want you to tell everybody how you learn to explain, to teach somebody that doesn't know how to teach archery. What did you do to teach yourself?
I honestly just looked at how I learned, because
you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I learned
The left
from you.
and right.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, my left and right hands. Yeah.
Yes.
So I shoot with both my hands. And what I did to make it easier on beginners to learn was I'm naturally left-handed. And then I taught myself right-handed recurve. So that way I could figure out what beginners are feeling when they're doing it. So that way I can show them from personal experience how I fixed that and see if that method works for them.
As a beginner, because you were a beginner at 4 years old.
Yeah.
So you can't remember what the little process you went through.
No.
And when I came in and I saw this, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And you're like, well, I'm teaching myself right-handed because it's been so long since I've learned. I want to see what they're going through.
Right.
And I was like, whoa. And if you've ever come in and had a lesson, if you haven't, schedule one online or call us.
Right. And
it's cool to watch her demonstrate the first shot because she almost always shoots a bullseye.
I try. Yeah. And then I give them the credit.
You shoot at you with our practice crap recurves with no sights. You shoot at playing cards at 20 yards with those damn things. And it's
a lot of fun. It's basically taking your archery and just bringing it to a different level. Cause now with my other hand, I can feel my weaknesses on that side, strengthen those. So then when I go back to my left side, my right arm is just as strong. So now my grip hand on my left side is even stronger.
See, now that's so now, and I've known a lot of people, and especially the instructors around here that watched you do it, and they saw the remarkable what comes of this, that some of the people that come in here, regulars and people that shoot, have been asking to learn that way, so they can learn, because they see, if you want to strengthen your archery, you got to identify your weaknesses. Right. And that's one way of identifying your weaknesses. Right. Yeah, that's great. So now when somebody comes in for a beginner lesson, I mean, like I tell everybody, you know, I like to for people just to have fun. Right.
Exactly. It is about them having fun. We do tell them the basics and how to get going and how to aim and adjust your aim as you go through different distances. But then when you get a little bit more advanced, you're going to get into more like grip and release and all the actual specifics. But your first lesson is going to very much just be basics, learning how to shoot safely, properly, and definitely just kind of get going and have fun with it without having to like miss arrows, hit the wood or walls. And then you're just getting frustrated because you can't figure out what's wrong. So we give you the basics.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, and that's to me is, and then we explain to them at the end, hey,
Right.
if you want to go further, you can practice here and
Right.
stuff like that. But if you want to learn further, we have all, we can take you further
Right.
and keep teaching you and helping you. So now that's something else that I want to bring up.
Mhm.
So now let's stay on the beginner too. So the difference between a private class and the group classes.
Yes. So privates, you can go a lot further, a lot quicker because we're focused on you. It's not 12 other people with you, and then different levels of archery or different even ages and strengths and weaknesses. So we're not bouncing around. We're tailoring your lessons to you privately. But then the group ones are even great for getting started because everybody's a beginner usually.
Right.
And then you're learning with other beginners and you kind of bounce off of each other. Well, that didn't really work for me, but this works for me. And then you're still learning the proper way. You're just tailoring it to you around others. Too.
Well, I like what we did with the 6 weeks and
Yes.
and to explain to everybody that if you come in, and you'll know if you've been to Chicago Archery, that the first thing, they come in and say, I want to get an archer. I'm looking at these bows. And we tell them, stop looking at the bows.
Right.
Start looking at the lessons.
Yeah.
Learn what you're doing because, we help you as being a student. We help you then with the knowledge that we know that you have.
Right.
We can talk to you educated, an educated archer to get into the proper bow that they're looking for and what they want to do with it. And by then we kind of know you too.
And then you ask the right questions like, how's this grip going to feel when I'm doing this type of shot at this style of archery? And then you start kind of tailoring into what kind of equipment you want to get into rather than coming in, I want to buy a bow and then take a lesson. But what if you're not super comfortable with that bow?
Right.
And then you go into a lesson and then realize it too late. So now you have a bow that you're not going to use.
And we see it so many times.
And it takes away the fun.
Yeah. And we see it so many times. The
So
people
much.
they buy that stuff and they come in, they say, oh, I got this. And this was given to me. And we're like, you know what? It doesn't really fit you. It doesn't really work. Or we know you want to do this, but it's too soon.
Or it's the wrong hand because you didn't know which side the shelf should be on.
And that's the thing I think we talked about.
Yes.
Educating people that, yes, yeah, you can learn so much on the internet.
Right.
But it's like you can learn so much, but you're not ready for it.
No.
If you don't have a good grip, you don't need to be paper tuning.
Right.
And towards hunting season, as you well know, and people come in and they talk to you, and then all they want to do is talk to me because I work on most of the bows. But
right.
Little do people know that at night, unfortunately for you, I make you help me work on bows. It's not unfortunate that she's learning.
It's not unfortunate though, because it does help your shooting to know that stuff. Like I was talking to someone today about when you put together a recurve, you now know the ins and outs of your bow. Or a compound. Now that I've done my strings and cables before in the past, I know more about my bow than I ever have before. So I don't look like, oh, I just picked this bow and shot it. I picked this bow for specific reasons for my shooting to be better.
Right.
So now it's even more fun because I'm more often.
And then when we work on the arrows, and if you haven't seen a YouTube video, Chicago Archery has a YouTube video too. Yep. It's not been really up to date as much. We're going to do more hopefully here with this new camera and the new cordless mics that I got. We're going to do some more product stuff, especially for like the bow hitch and the new bows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, now I taught you how to put together a new bow.
Yes.
Just the basics of putting together a new bow. And now we're into tuning bows where we're tuning and adjusting. And to get back where I was talking about our YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
And I ADD went off as I always do. And if I don't have things written down like I do here, I will be on a tangent. We'll be talking about dinosaurs here in a little bit. And why I came up with dinosaurs, I don't know, because I really like dinosaurs
today.
Yeah. Yes.
We all loved his shirt.
Okay. So anyways, look, Will, you're famous. So anyways, on the YouTube, to digress back again, Jessica did paper tuned your own bow.
We have it on the YouTube with my cure.
Your elite cure.
Yes.
And you did it all by yourself in like 3 or 4 arrows.
I think it was 2.
2 arrows.
We shot 1, got the rip, and then we did 1/4 of a turn, 1/4 of a turn, and then got the straight.
Yeah, we got real lucky, and and bam, you were there.
Right.
So that's another thing. We've been, knowing this stuff. So during hunting season, when guys come in and all they want to do is they talk to you, and you're like giving them advice, and it's not the advice they want to hear.
No.
And then all they want to do is talk to me, and then they realize I'm your dad.
Right.
And then they ask me, and without even looking at each other, I give them the same answer. And they're like, well, I don't, it's like,
right.
It's mostly because they're not ready.
Right.
And okay. So now the reason I'm bringing this up between the YouTube and the lessons, YouTube's a great way to learn something that you may want to work up to, or you may be ready for it. Now, with the lessons, we do advanced lessons too.
Yes, we do.
We do paper tuning, and we do all kinds of things. We harass you. We do everything we can. But the thing is with the advanced lessons, give them. I'm going to let you tell it, because I can sit here and talk all day, because
we talk archery all the time.
All the time. Tomorrow's Memorial Day. Here at this time of the year, and tomorrow's Memorial Day, and I pretty much guarantee we're going to be eating a burger and be like, you see that, So we do, but we love it.
We love archery, and that's why we do it, and that's why we're here, and that's why we want you to get better. So the advanced lessons, basically, we want you to love archery, and we want to clean up or tune up what you already know, and then just make it easier for you. Sometimes the things we're teaching you, people think it might be tougher on them or it's uncomfortable, so they just don't continue trying it. But if you continue going and get that consistency down, then it just becomes secondhand.
Right. And the thing we talked about is when you're not ready.
Right.
If you're not ready for something, we try to get you ready for it. We may look at something and say, hey, you know what, you're not ready to do that yet. Your grip kind of sucks and stuff like that. But let us show you, so our advanced lessons aren't something that you say, oh, I got to come in every week.
Right.
You could say, I just need a tune-up or an evaluation.
Right.
You do an evaluation lesson where we evaluate you and we give you a list of things that we feel that you can work on. And if you want to work them on yourself, we tell you, and we kind of tell you why. We don't just say, okay, here, you need to work on this, but that's another lesson. Right. No, here, you need to work on this. And this is why. And then really,
it's the water fountain.
This place has, and that's the water fountain that I hate.
That you had to put
my $5,000 water fountain that the city come in, and that lady lost her fucking job.
She made you put it in.
There's no reason why it's there. So if you're listening to that noise, I hate it too. So anyways, it's gone. All right. So the thing is, when you do an evaluation, we try to help you out. But there's no, when I'm working on something, or you come in on my classes, to my few classes that I teach, to get help, because you can't look at yourself. You cannot evaluate if you're doing a proper release. And there's more to it. So, and this goes between recurve and compound. Recurve is the game of form and, form and process and form, I should say, in that order. And compound is the game of aiming.
Yes.
So those are the basics of them. So you can't do that yourself. So some people come in for a tune-up with you.
Yes.
Obviously, my lessons are a lot more expensive because I have no time.
Right.
And that's the main gist of it there. Jessica, you and Kate and Maddie and Amanda, fantastic. I mean, you girls have gone believable. And then in hunting season, those smart ones are always coming to you.
Oh yeah. Our hunters, as soon as they know that hunting season's like on the horizon, they start scheduling lessons, and we call them like tune-up lessons.
Yep.
Because they've done some tuning to their bow, they've done some tuning to their broadheads, their arrows. So now they're coming into us, especially me, you, Maddie, since we all hunt.
Right. They're
coming to us to see how they can get that one clean shot that they need, the most ethical shot.
Right.
And then we give them tools to practice, which is what we were talking about earlier.
Right.
So these advanced lessons, they make you They make you think about your practices more with a purpose.
Right. Okay. And that's we're going to go into that and a couple more lesson things, and then we're going to go into that practice.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing there. So the thing I'm going to talk about now is like if somebody they have like a target panic.
Yeah.
Those are
That's
lessons.
been one of the hardest ones.
Yeah, that's the lesson that I pretty much take, that you're coming up with your own ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And
I'm trying to figure out methods for that. It's one of the hardest things. Yeah.
Yeah, but the couple that you've worked with, the recurves have been crazy.
Yeah, they've been getting a lot better.
Oh my God. People, if you don't shoot a recurve if you do shoot a recurve and and you have that crazy release problem, come see Jessica.
Yeah.
She has a bag of tricks.
Well, I've dealt with it with my triggers too. When I was a kid, remember, I used to just sometimes just punch, and I was like, why am I afraid of it? So then you have to get into your mental and work it out.
Right. And you've taken some of my stuff and then you took it. I just want to elaborate here, because this is a proud dad moment. My daughter has taken archery to such another level. That's why she's here today. I get to say it for the whole world to hear it, because I never fucking say it to her face, because she's got this huge fucking head when I do. So
can we plug me making my own hats?
Yes, she makes warm noggins by JM. If you want to look on Etsy or anywhere else.
Target hats.
Yeah, she makes winter hats. So I will plug that. Warm
if you have
noggins.
A big head like mine.
Yeah, she can make them in different size, triple, extra large. But anyways, the thing is you're taking lessons to another level. And what we've been doing lately is trying to get people their process,
right,
so they don't get that buck fever.
Right.
That's the new thing. Well, that's the thing that's a class that I've been teaching for years.
Right. That
you're going to start developing with people now, because I don't have the time because of the other things that I've been working into. Everybody's kind of growing here, and it's been pretty crazy, and we've all had to do double duties lately.
Yeah, definitely.
So with that being said, let's go. And I don't think I got anything else left with the lessons. Lessons have been pretty good.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of understands what you're coming when you come to Chicago Archery. This is not so much, this is about what people should be expecting when they go to their own archery store. And by the way, if you have any questions on, like, if you don't live here, like I got some people from Australia that send me emails and stuff.
Yep.
And around the country, a couple of my buddies that have, listened to it up in Alaska and shit. If you have any questions, contact us, and we'll tell you how to get with another archer or another, teacher or something. Not that we're going to find one for you, but what the questions to ask will help you. If you're from around here, come here.
Right.
Just come in.
Yeah, we want to help you.
We help everybody.
We love teaching it, so we want to help you. Absolutely love doing it.
And you know me, if I'm sitting here working on a bow, I give free advice all day long. So, and I love it. And I don't have a problem with it, it's, you hear all kinds of certain things, people, they really get this chip on their shoulder, and they do certain things. They don't like to hear that it may be them and not the bow. But, the bow is a pretty consistent thing.
Right.
You have more problems with your arrows that people don't understand, but they have a dozen or 2 dozen arrows, and they're like, oh, I'm not changing them. It's like, well, then you got to fucking live with it.
Right. Then you have to get better with what you have.
If your arrow's not flying right, it's not always just the bow.
Right.
You can tune a bow so much to an arrow to get it to fly, but sometimes you're tuning it too much. And I want to reiterate, you can overtune your bow. Mm-hmm. You can make your arrow fly, but it's not perfect. And with the lesson, right. And when we do the tune-up lessons and we tell somebody, okay, we understand you may do the same thing all the time, but if we give you a suggestion and it doesn't work, then it doesn't work for you. But we're trying to give you the answer that you're looking.
Right.
That was a crazy, but anyway, we're trying to give you the one that's most consistent all the time for different yardages and different situations.
Right.
But if you can't do it, you can't do it.
Right.
I mean, if you give a galleon a try, 99% of the time you can. You just got to give it a try. So let's get into practice.
Yes.
So
that's one of my favorite topics.
Right. So we spend all this time.
Yes.
Teaching people.
Yes.
And my big thing is they go to these lessons and they get in their 6-week lessons and they're like practicing in between classes. And they're like, I want to get so good. I want to get so good. And they're just doing great and doing great and doing great. I want to get in Bob's class, and they get in the advanced class, and then they just come once a week.
Yes.
And they're expecting in an advanced level to just get better.
Yeah. Just be good all the time.
And at that point I tell them, I say, okay, you got from this and you went to here, but you worked really hard to get here. You got to work really hard to stay here.
Yes.
And then they lose it. So what it was a short-term goal.
Right.
And anybody knows, I believe short-term goals will turn into long-term accomplishments.
Yes.
That's my big thing. And I teach a lot with drills. So if somebody has a problem, I create a drill for them to practice so they could get better.
And you bounce off of us and our students, or like you have some of my students that just joined your class.
Right.
So when they're having an issue, we bounce off of each other. Like, what did you work on in your lessons during that time when they were having this issue? And then you create a drill based off of what works for them.
Right.
So it's nice. And then you can even ask our instructors, and if we don't practice, we don't keep up with it. And then we're off and you're kicking our butts.
So what happens is, and this is where practice comes in.
Yeah.
So when you're learning something in a lesson, you're focusing. You can only focus on one thing at a time.
Right.
Okay. So it takes thousands of arrows for you to brain or put in your subconscious your actions for like your process and stuff.
Right.
So yes, you can get very good rapidly, but then you're not really consistent. That's what I try to explain to people. And they're like, oh, I can shoot. I can do this. Yeah. I've heard the stories, man. But I prove everyone wrong all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I hear it, I'll be like, all right, yeah, that's great. And you're like, you don't believe me? And I'm like, then now you've asked me and I can't tell a lie. So I'll be like, no, I don't believe you. Would you like me to prove it? And they'll be like, yeah, go ahead. So we go back to the quarter story where the 3 guys that were shooting the quarter, and they were like, I can shoot a quarter all day. So I drilled a quarter hole through a golf pin or a bowling pin. And not one of them could fucking hit it. And I have their arrows stuck in the bowling pin to prove it. So I hung it like a trophy in my shop.
And it's right there when you walk in.
Yeah. So feel free to come and look at that. But the thing is, so practice. You're focusing when you're learning on something. So other things will fall to crap. Mm-hmm. So when you practice, you're more relaxed. You remember everything. You're taking your time. You're doing it. And you have to practice that and keep it. And we give you a drill for a reason. A drill is like a different type of target. A drill could be, whatever, a way of doing something, a way of drawing, a system, what you should say in your head, whatever it is.
Right.
And you add that to your regular practice, and you would be amazed on
how far you can go.
And then the next time, if you do it 3 times a week, because it's said that after 96 hours, the muscles forget the memory. So I was told that in martial arts for many years, and I was told that by a physical,
I can see it.
Physical, I don't know if you want to call him professor, but he was from U of C. And, it's a fact. If you don't do something for 4 days, your body forgets the memory. Now, not do you forgot how to do it. It's just that your physical forgets it. So practice is huge. When you do practice and you do it on your own, you want to make sure that you practice with a purpose, practice with your drills, and then you can do archery 7 days a week.
Right.
You can practice short game, long game, releases, grips, steadiness, different drills. Man, I can give you 5 different drills. You can practice 5 times a week. Okay.
And even with all those like fun targets that people shoot at and everything, it's not just about hitting the target. It's about being able to hit that target whenever you want and wherever you want to hit that target.
That's what an archer is.
So that's the thing about practice, is adding those purpose, making sure you have your basics and keeping those good habits going, because then you're always going to look like an archer wherever you go. And people are going to be impressed by that way more than the yellow.
Wonder where you heard that from. I remember looking at you as a little kid and be like, oh, look, I hit it. And I said, did you do it the first try? And you're like, no. I said, well, then that's just fucking luck. And I remember a 4-year-old looking at me like going, Oh my God.
Or even now I'll like hit a goal and you'll be like, all right, 10 points higher. I'm like, cool. I'm glad we pushed through that threshold. Time for the next one. There's no celebratory.
Right. Short-term goals bring long-term accomplishments. Never forget it.
And they do.
Write it down. So for practice, we're going to go right into the notebook.
Notebooks.
Let's talk about notebooks. So I write everything down. Everybody that knows me, who knows me, knows I write shit down a lot. And I try to stay as organized as possible, which is not.
It's hard.
It's hard.
But that's our whole family.
Yeah. So
we're all forgetful and we can't organize.
In my class, it is now mandatory that you have a notebook.
Yes.
You can't come to class without a notebook. You have to have your notebook. You have to write in it. And I have set up a basic format. And yes, we are printing out for the B6 size travel notebooks. Like a little insert that you can put, let's say you have a traveler's notebook, which a lot of people have now. That notebooks, they're really nice because you can add different inserts. You can have a calendar, you can have your regular notes, you can put different things in these notebooks. So you can have like 3 or 4. And if you're looking on the YouTube, I've got one like right here on my hand. Yeah. I actually, if you see the black papers, those are the little sayings that I have. This crazy little sayings like, short-term goals bring long-term accomplishments. Process will always bring you home. Those are little ones. So when I come up with a saying, I write it down because it's important, because if it helped one person, it can help 100.
Oh yeah.
So, and I use it. So with this this is not an actual B6 right here, but we're making the B6 size and we're going to be making other sizes, and they'll be cheap for you to pick up. I mean, it's cheap for you to print it out yourself, but we've made it. So some of the things you want in your notebook. And so this is for people that want to write this down and write their own notebooks, because I don't care if you buy mine or not. Right. I do care. I would like you to support our shop because we want to stay in business so we can help you guys out, do these kind of neat things. But if you feel free that you're a cheap bastard and you want to do it on your own, feel free to do it on your own and start your own goddamn shop. Okay, so
good luck.
Good luck. You're going to be poor. So
it's not wrong. That's why we're laughing.
Yeah, it's not. I'm an electrician during the week. So that's what I do. It's how I eat. So, okay. So for practice in your notebook, okay. And if you're going to write this down or you're going to come back to this, here's how it starts. At the top of your notebook, you want to put your date. Okay. And then next to it, what you're going to be practicing. Let's say you're going to practice grip and the effects of. So let's say you feel you have a good grip, but you compete. And then when you go to compete, for some reason, you always shoot left. All right. Well, why is that? You don't know, because you don't know something in archery until you've done it.
Right.
You don't know how your arrow is going to fly in the rain until you shoot in the rain.
Right.
It's just a fact. Okay. You can do all the calculations you want. It doesn't work, right?
Well, that's like going back to the right-handed thing. Literally reasons I went right-handed so I could know what they're feeling. You don't know it until you try it. And since I was lefty teaching so many righties, I hadn't felt it right-handed. I could only kind of go to my grip. So now I can show them on their grip what they should know. So,
okay. So let's get back to the notebook. Mm-hmm. So we had the practice. We're going to say you put the date, and up at the top, and you're going to put what you're doing, not that particular paper. So you know where your date is. In the front of your notebook, you want to put yourself an index. So you put on there the date, right? And then you can, on the left-hand side, and then next to it, what you're practicing. And that's in the front of your notebook. So keep first 2 pages free. And then you start on your 3rd page and you put the date, you put what you're practicing. Underneath that, you're going to put your bow settings. So when I say your bow settings, you might have a target bow, you might have a hunting bow. Right. You might say you're setting at 20 yards. You might want to put in there that you're at the 20-yard pin, you're using the red pin, or you're doing this, you're using the top of the pin, you're using the middle of the pin. And people that know about that pin practice, you'll understand what I'm saying.
Right.
You're also going to say, your bow settings, I stabilize, there's no stabilizers, with quiver, without quiver. You want to know these things. So you just jot down a couple things. It only has to be 1 or 2 lines. All right. If you're if you're outside, if there's wind, what direction of the wind? And all you have to do is the wind, the way you're facing the target. Right. So if you're standing there and the wind's blowing in your face, you draw an arrow towards you. If the wind's blowing to your back, you draw it away from you. If it's, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Don't try that northwest, east, because when you're looking at it, be like, well, which way was I fucking standing?
Right.
So just use an arrow. That's a big tip. Okay. All right. So underneath that grip, you're going to put in, so you're going to have what they call methods, and next to methods are results. And your methods, you may want to do 3 to 6 arrows, or 6 to 12 arrows. So you might want to do 1 or 2 ends per each practice. If you have good practice, if you have a really solid, and be truthful to yourself, you have a really solid process, then you could do it within 6 arrows. And I always say to try to get 6, so you get a good average of results.
Right. That way you can see it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's like a method. So if your grip, so you're going to add pressure with your thumb. You're going to have pressure with your fingers. You're going to have your grabbing. You're going to have, so these are all methods you're going to put down. And then you're going to shoot your arrows, and you're going to say, oh, I did grabbing. Oh, when I grab the bow, it pulls it this way.
Right.
Or if the level's off to the left, it does this. If it's levels off to the right, it does this. Now I know what you're all thinking right now.
Right.
I can't wait to practice.
I'm just thinking that. I was like, I got to do this.
Yeah.
I got to do some grip
because
tuning.
When you're hunting, you got gloves on. So you're going to say with glove, without glove.
Yes.
These are all different types of practices. Now I've just given 3 practices right there.
Right.
So I expect in about 30 minutes, people are going to be hitting range time.
Yep.
For at least the next 3 days should be full.
Yep.
Okay. So, and this is the kind of stuff that we give you when you come to me and say, hey, I'm trying to practice for hunting season. What kind of practice I give? I'll give you a list of about 12 different things.
Right.
Right.
Or we'll come onto the range and we'll look at you.
Yeah. And
be like, watch this. Yeah. And then you'll have a focus.
Right. So after that, you have your methods, you have your results. And then after that, the line underneath there, you need to put final thoughts.
Right.
Right. And this is after an hour or 2 hours. Now, my lessons are 2 hours long. So at the end of 2 hours, they put in their final thoughts and their results. Okay, this is good. This is that. I got to remember to do this. And in my process, I tell myself after I draw to make sure I relax my thumb for my grip, because maybe they have a stiff thumb.
True.
And they're always shooting left. They're like, oh, I have a stiff thumb. Right. I'm right-handed. That's going to give you a left. So I'm thinking Amanda, because she went for a month doing this. She did this same practice every Thursday for a month. And then she came up and, oh my gosh, you're good now.
I know. That's Amanda's crazy. Like, if I'm giving Olympic recurve advice, I'm like, Amanda, grab your bow.
Yeah, she's just amazing. So, and then you want to put at the bottom your next practice, because there's no better time to pick what you should practice next.
Right.
Than right now, when the bow's in your hand, you're hot, you're in the moment. And your notebook. So that was the main reason I put that counter at the end of our range. And so people could put their notebooks down in their pen and just right after an end. You don't have to shoot every end. There's nothing. We don't enforce craziness here, man. No. We let you guys relax and say, if we see you writing and stuff, we're gonna let you stay a little bit longer. We'll make sure you gotta get what you got to get out of it. And that's why we're here. We're here to do that.
Right.
So that's the notebook.
Now, the way you do your notebooks, that's kind of like what we do in our lessons too for them. And then some of my more advanced students, they have their own notebooks now. So they're seeing how they're getting out of it, what I'm showing them.
And that's what's going to be happening now. Before they come to me, they got to know how to use a notebook.
Yeah.
So what happens is I enforce having the notebook. And then now I price it on to the people coming towards me. That's going to be one of the pre-qualifications.
Yeah.
I've taken a large advanced class, and I told them, you're not all advanced. Mm-hmm. And I slimmed my class down to a few people.
Right.
Not that I told them that they needed this practice to be here, and they so choose to either get the lessons, like a lot of them did, get the lessons and then get up to that level and came back, or no. And then I've actually had some, that were in my class for years that were having some struggling and then took some private lessons because they knew. And in an advanced class, it's like a college course. You have an instructor up front. You have all these people, and you're giving them information. But if you need specialized individual help, you need specialized individual lesson. Right. And you need an hour with an instructor. Right. So, and you find that out in these advanced classes. So
And they come and they do a few packages with us, or they'll do a package and then go back to you, and then they can progress more.
Oh, faster.
Yeah.
And they know how to run their practice.
Right.
So that's a big thing. So practice.
Right.
And the book with your practice, I swear,
it does wonders.
Get a travel notebook, because you want to do more than just notes. You want to write down the sayings. You want to be able to refer back to it. So make sure you get that index.
That's why I don't have mine here, because it's at home. I was doing my index from my practices. Right. I have a notebook for my tech stuff with you. Right. I have a notebook for my practices, and I have a notebook for my to-do list for here.
Right.
Every day.
So you heard that, right? So we have special notebooks. I have 8 notebooks on my desk at home. One's my everyday for work, every day, right. Whatever it is I need to do, even if it's my, grocery list. And then I have my Chicago Archery one here. Right. And then,
that's my Chicago Archery. My green one has like 3 of the little sectionals.
And then I have, password ones, and I have guitar ones, and I have fishing ones, and I have all kinds of neat stuff.
Right.
So that's being said, and I want to watch the time, because I don't want to keep you guys too much on their podcasts. We're getting real close.
Yeah.
So let's get into, let's do a quick thing on safety. Rules and safety. We've had a few instances lately which have changed the rules and regulations at Chicago Archery, and it's for a good reason.
Right.
A lot of people don't like coming to a range and seeing somebody just winging arrows all over and being dangerous.
Right.
The people that they're doing it, they say they have experience or training, and they no longer, or they had training in Boy Scouts 50 years ago, whatever. Right. And they're winging arrows, and they think it's okay to hit the wood. Now, for people that haven't seen the range, if you're hitting wood, you're missing a 4-foot by 4-foot square target.
Right.
That's how bad it is. And it's usually at 10 yards.
Right.
So now we are going to be having a paper where if somebody says they want to shoot in a range and they say they have prior training, in their very first arrow out of their bow, they will hit a 40-centimeter paper target at 10 yards.
Right.
Doesn't have to be in the middle. You just have to hit the paper.
Right.
That means you're safe and you're downrange and you're doing things properly after listening and signing off to the rules.
Right.
Okay. I take beginner people all the time with a properly set up bow. They bought a bow for me, properly set up, no training whatsoever. And I take them out on the range and I can make them hit that paper, the very first arrow, every single time. Been doing it for 7.5 years in business, and have been doing it for a hell of a lot longer before that.
And it sounds more intimidating than it is. When that 10 yards and paper's in front of you, it's like, oh, okay. If you have proper training and safety, it's nothing.
Yeah.
You
so
just
if you really know. So what you're going to be signing off for a paper to be on my range to do that.
Yeah.
And that is the new major rule. We don't want you to be a Kelly and say you know what you're doing and then come out here and then shoot the back wall, miss the target completely and shoot the back wall.
Yes.
That is, you know what I mean? Just horrible. And it's dangerous for everybody. And then stuff like that. So,
right.
We see it all, and we understand people want to save. So we make our lessons so cheap,
right,
that
it's easy just to get that proper training first.
If you buy, and what happens is if you get range time and you rent a bow and you get a paper target, it's only a couple dollars more to get a lesson.
Right.
And it's so easy to schedule that online before you come in.
Yep.
That we've made it easy for you to get the proper training to be safe. And what it does is it's safe for everybody and it's fun. You will have a good time, guaranteed. We make sure of it.
Right.
And what we also do is we want to make sure, because there's so many things that are happening out there that people don't realize that are affecting the archery community.
And it's going to affect the industry and the businesses and everybody who's here. And there's safety concerns with it. And it doesn't even come down to, I don't even know what I was going with there, but there's my mistake for the podcast. But basically, there's a lot of things happening.
No, your safety, you were going towards the safety.
Yeah, we need safety.
Yeah.
We need it.
It's for long-term longevity
Right.
of our industry. We need the proper safety as we police ourselves.
Right.
Because if we don't police ourselves, they are going to police us.
Well, and it's more fun for everybody on the range if you're not hitting the wood, because then you're trying to hear something from your instructor, or you're talking to your child and you're having fun with it or trying to show them something. And then somebody slams the wood a few times in a row. And then we're out there, we have to be distracted from your lesson or distracted from that child. And then you have to go over and take care of it. And then when you're trying to take care of it, not everybody is always the nicest about it.
They're embarrassed, and then they act like, and what do embarrassed people do? They act like jackasses.
And then the range becomes unsafe for everybody, because now somebody's out there that's not in a stable condition and they're trying to
Right.
talk to us, and then we're trying to help them get better. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse. So we want to be able to avoid that situation now and be able to make sure everybody's safe. We just get on the range, you know what you're doing, and everybody can have a good time. You get your hour done. You've got everything from your practice. There's no distractions. You've gotten a full amount of time to learn whatever you wanted to in that hour. You're getting the most out of your money when everybody's safe.
Absolutely. And that's the big thing is there's, if you don't, when it's like anything else, so like I've told you your entire life, if you lie, you're going to get caught.
Right.
And I mean, if you lie in archery and say you have training, I know the second you pick up the bow,
right,
that when you grab that bow, 100%.
It's a joke here.
And yeah, and the
Bob can just look at you. You just have to hold your bow and breathe, and Bob knows if you've ever shot before.
Yeah, it's like, and
that's what I tell everybody.
Like, yeah, before the first arrow, yeah,
just hold your bow and breathe.
Like somebody will say, "Oh yeah, I've had training," and then I'll just sit. And as soon as I hear that, I walk up to the front and I stare at him. I'm like, "Okay, before you grab that arrow, you're sure what you're doing right now?" And he's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Are you questioning yourself in the back of your head?" And they say, "Yeah," and I said, "That's because you don't have training."
Because we will know.
I know. I've been doing this a long 48 some years.
Yeah, long time.
And just because I didn't own a shop didn't mean I wasn't teaching people and helping me. So today, little big deal. Today, your last lesson of the day.
Oh yeah, the little one.
I'm gonna put a plug in.
He was so great.
Our neighbor, that Jessica grew up with.
Yeah.
And Brian is older than you, right?
Yeah, he's a little older than Stephanie too.
So
right?
Brian's a couple years older, and Brian lived next door, and Brian, I kind of drug around with me a lot, and he was into fishing and hunting. You know, he has uncles and everything showing him how to do stuff, so he kind of hung with me,
right?
And because I did a lot of fishing and hunting,
right,
and training my dogs and bird hunting and everything else, Brian was just always with us.
Right.
And Brian has his own family now. He's a grown adult and has his own family. And I saw his son this morning, because he's in town, because he doesn't live in town anymore. And I saw his son today. I'm like, "Do you shoot a bow and arrow?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "You are now."
Right.
Because you know a guy. So I set him up with you.
Yes.
So Brian's son, little Brian,
right,
got a lesson from you and loved.
Oh, and he's amazing. Now he looks like an archer. In the first 10 arrows, he got a bullseye.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah,
he was good. And his dad is a natural at this.
Yes.
I mean, his dad's a natural outdoorsman.
Yeah.
Brian is a natural outdoorsman. I mean, it's
just in their blood.
Yeah, it's in his. Brian just eats and breathes animals. I mean, he knows them.
Even his daughters, every time I'm outside with the dogs, "Oh, it's okay, I'll come over and play with them."
Yeah, they're crazy.
They love them. Or the snakes.
Yeah, they
come running around with snakes in their hands.
So that being said, yes, you got to do that.
And it was fun teaching it. That's why we like that safety. You get to have fun with each other, and then you get to learn more, and you get the most out of your hour. And this little kid, he was shooting zombies at the end of the day, right in the bullseye and the headshot.
Yes. Yes, we have zombie targets.
His first lesson.
So
it's crazy.
And there's 10 minutes on that. So that's all right. We're going to keep going. Right. All right. So we want to go to reason the safety is, it's like OSHA and a workplace, which everybody knows OSHA across the country. The reason they make a rule is because somebody dies.
Right.
So in hunting, the reason we have restrictions and regulation is because somebody either gets hurt or dies. So now somebody dies every year or gets seriously injured from a tree stand. So now they're making more and more regulations at a tree stand, and all this other stuff, and they're doing more. And obviously the regulations on the tree stands have made some of the tree stands, to me, more dangerous because they don't fit the trees right. All the trees, you got to have a certain tree, and you're buying this. So they like it because they sell more.
Right.
But the regulations are coming, people. And we know, as you pointed out, the number one thing that's starting to bring regulations is
crossbows.
Yep. We don't hate crossbows here at Chicago Archery. We love them. Right. But we do realize people get into them for different reasons.
Right.
And now they're getting into them because they can.
Right.
And they don't have to have a disability.
Right.
So that was the first reason for many years, but now it's open and people are getting it so they don't have to practice as much.
Right. It's an all season thing. You have more hunting time.
Right. And they like it because it's like a gun, but it's not like a gun.
No, it's not.
It is very finicky. And if you move and you do anything, it throws the bolt off. And now you've got a wounded animal.
Right.
But we have personally seen in this area, because of the inability to get the proper training with their crossbows, certain areas in the forest preserves and in our state are now required that all archers, to utilize their ranges, have to give their information and pay a fee and get a permit to shoot there. That is the beginning of regulation.
Right. That
type of regulation is what shut down a lot of our outdoor rifle ranges. Right. I was, in my lifetime, I have seen many. We used to have a rifle range when I was a kid, not far from my home.
Right.
It had a pond, and you used to throw boards in it, and you shoot. It was called a 22 pond.
Right.
The shooting pond.
Okay.
And we get around this pond, and you could shoot the boards and stuff that were floating in the pond.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was so fun.
That's so cool.
But
I want to do that with my bow.
So once they started hitting the FOID card,
right,
a parent had to have a FOID card.
Right.
And then for the child to shoot, the parent had to have a FOID card. So let's say I was younger and I wanted to shoot. If my dad didn't shoot,
right,
I was not shooting. But here in archery,
that could have changed our whole life course.
Right. Well, here in archery,
right,
what happened is what happens here is the parents need no card, no involvement whatsoever. They just need to drive that child here for them to learn archery.
Right. Just to practice.
That is the longevity of our love of our sport.
Right.
And now, I shouldn't say now, but if they put a regulation on that, the parents will gaff it off. It'll take forever to get them, and the kids
will lose interest.
Well, even now, the parents don't even want to drive them.
Right.
So the main reason I sell targets is people say, "Oh, I got a big backyard. My kid can practice back there."
Right.
And then they come back to us and they're shooting all wrong. They can't even hit a 4-foot target. They're like, "Oh, they were losing arrows, so we figured it'd be cheaper for them to do lessons again, get them back on center." And then you look at them and they took them away too soon.
It's like lost. They come in and they're lost on their face, or everything you worked on and everything they did know is just gone. So we want to keep from the crazy regulations, because we want to be able to give that to kids, or to parents who want to maybe get away from the kids and come in and practice, or go to those outdoor ranges and not have to worry about if you're going to get a ticket for just coming to the range.
Right. Well, they're like, so the parent that doesn't,
especially if you're safe about it,
the parent that doesn't do this, and they could be driving, a friggin' Lamborghini, they want to save $2. It's like their kids don't matter. And as you well know, when you said, "I want a new boat," which is a great story I should put on the podcast. Yeah. Jessica's tantrum before she got her compound bow.
I don't even remember that.
Oh my God, it was so awesome. It was hilarious.
But I just remember the shop part.
Yeah. So what happens is these kids, the parents are like, well, we'll save $10 and I'd have to drive there on Wednesday because it's an inconvenience. What they do is they buy a Target and they just throw the kids out there, and they're not going to go get a card or whatever. And they're, to bring the kids out. So what they do is they just try to find the cheapest way possible. And they want to do these free ranges. So they spend the $35. They give them all their information. They tell them what their kids are shooting and everything. So now this kid's on record with the state. And what happens is, so if they do want to regulate it, they already have a list.
Right.
Okay. This is no conspiracy thing. I'm not trying to get into anybody's head. I have a FOI card. I do all that stuff. You know what I mean? But the thing is, if you're worried about regulation, this is what it's going to come down to. And It comes from the unsafe, pig-headed people that want to be cheap and not get proper training.
Or fight when we're trying to give them proper training.
You go and shoot at the free range for the long distance. And I set up something, a couple times a month. But the thing is, if you're going to do that kind of stuff, be properly trained and make sure it's enforced. If you're newer to it, I'm saying 2 years or less. If you're going to shoot every week at an outdoor range, you should shoot with training inside.
Yeah.
Because
at least once in a while. So that way you don't know safety.
You don't know what you don't know. Okay. I've been doing this 48 years. Right. I know what you don't know.
Right.
I'm going to say that. I'm putting it in the internet. I know what you don't know. And I fucking prove it all the time.
All the time.
Okay. I'm not the greatest, but I can see when somebody's doing something wrong and help them. And I've had enough experience of screwing up myself that I can say, okay, well, if you're doing this, I've done that,
Right.
Hey man, and it helps having the experience around. And that's why I got into a shop, because I have experience. That's why you're in a shop. You got 24 years of experience, right? So I call it 3-year experts. After 3 years, you're a really good shot. You've learned a lot, but oh my God, you're arrogant.
Yes.
If you've been shooting 3 years, you're who I'm talking about.
I was there too. I mean, when I was a teenager.
You really think you've got it made. And then I can explain to you that there's so much more to learn, and I can give you ideas that will reinvigorate your learning to show and humble yourself. I'm not here to humble you, but for you to humble yourself and dig back in and get back into that learning phase. It takes about 5 years to get through a very enormous circle to get a ton of information to where you're very stable shooter.
Right.
Now, right there, I'm going to piss a lot of people off and be like, no way. I can outshoot you and all this. Yeah, you probably do. I drink coffee and everything else. I give a shit.
We're not worried about outshooting anyone. Yeah. We're worried about everybody being as safe and having fun with it.
And getting where you don't get stagnant.
Right. You're not going to get in.
Keep learning.
If you're cocky, you're not going to keep learning. And I feel that archers and coaches and in any sport or any sort of coach or teacher or even just person wanting to learn something, the most fun part is the learning. Moment where you're like, oh, that's what I've been missing. And then you can put it in your process, and now you're even more successful because you've learned something new, and then you can teach that and make somebody else even better and keep that moment going. It just makes the sport way more fun.
I love when somebody comes in and says, hey, have you seen this new video? I'll be like, yep. And be like, really? And I said, what do you think I do in my off time?
Right.
I own the shop because I love it. And I'm watching those videos too. And I'm watching this. And I see this new, this new thing, the bow hitch. And I'm just crazy about it. I'm crazy about it. Anybody that doesn't have one of these is an idiot.
Yeah. Those things are awesome.
Let's talk. Okay. So we talked about regulations. We're going to finish up here with traditional shooting.
It's one of my favorites.
Okay. So what happens is, people start their lessons.
Mm-hmm.
They want to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
So they start shooting traditionally. And they don't want sights because they think, well, it could break and I'm relying on it, blah, blah, blah. So they start using the tip of their arrow and doing this. You're using a sight if you're using this arrow, but it's always there. Yeah. Okay. So then they do this thing called string walking.
Yes.
And this is what really gets, okay. So I understand it's legal and they do this stuff for competitions and stuff, and they're staying within the regulations of traditional. But if you're just shooting traditional and you are string walking, what is the difference? And I'm going to put this out here. What is the difference of sliding your hand up and down or sliding a sight? Nothing.
I've never thought of it that way.
So if you're going to
That's cool,
slide
though.
your hand up and down and use the tip of the arrow, why not just use a sight and slide it up and down? And you'll say, well, I don't like looking at that pin. Then break the pin out.
Yeah.
Come to me and I will show you how to aim with an open sight.
I feel like sights have helped me shoot without one. Honestly.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't have sights when I was really little, but I had a sight since I was 10 years old.
Right.
And now I can shoot almost any bow without one because it's like string walking. You change that.
Yep.
That
You're
based
just
on
changing
what
the
you're
angle.
doing. Yeah.
Archery.
You're changing the angle.
Archery is a right angle, point blank. And if you're doing it process. So now when these people hold, so now if you look at the bone structure, now I want everybody to know, as Jessica can tell,
Right.
I used to build and carve an Osage orange bow every summer, practice with it, tie the string, make my own wood arrows,
Yep.
fletch them with feathers, and get everything set up for hunting season.
Yep.
Every year. And I did it for 10 years. I have shot and love traditional archery.
Yeah.
But I did it a little bit different than a lot of you guys are doing it. So the thing is I love traditional archery, but I do realize it has major limitations. And if you want to do that, and that's what you love, that is great.
Yeah.
But remember, if you're looking for that type of accuracy and you take time off, it's muscle memory.
It is.
You have to keep practicing. That's what I tell everybody. If you do, you'll be fine.
Right.
But if you don't, and like what happened to me, the way I got away from traditional is I hurt my hand because I was pulling a heavy bow because I was hunting large game with an Osage orange 61 to 63 inch long bow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember.
And they
that
were at draw lengths at 28 inches. I had them at up to 70 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And at that time I was a monster. I was but I was pulling every single, as you know, in the back, every single day. Every single day. So without fail. And then when you get hurt, you got to get back and you got to start low.
You got to rehab and all that stuff.
It was tough.
Yeah.
So, and then I wanted to hunt that season and I went and I bought a compound bow, and 2 days later I shot a deer, and 2 days after that I shot another one because I was so damn good.
Right.
But yeah, I couldn't believe after practicing, but I shot a different way.
Right.
I want people with traditional, if you're having some issues, I want you to look at the way you line up your bone structure. And I'm going to put this out here. If you have questions about that, come and see me. I will explain it. But your release and follow through is the last things that affect an arrow. And that's where it's going wrong.
It's my favorite step. Every time we get to release and follow through in class, it's my favorite because it's the last, it's one of the most affecting things on your arrow. One of my students said it today. We were doing release follow through and he said, wow, that is insanely important in our first class of the day. It is. It's so important. It's the last thing. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You get here at 11 o'clock on Sunday. Sunday's the day that I get up and check all the new stuff that's in archery. I get all these updates and stuff. I have filters set up. So I get all these new updates and stuff to see what kind of bullshit people are putting out there and what kind of great stuff that people are putting out there. Cause that's how I found the bow hitch. And that's how I found a couple other things. And that's how I found a couple mentors of mine and people that I wanted to go meet and see.
And the internet's great for a lot of things. And
it's great. It's fantastic.
Not great for other things.
Right. You just got to know how to weed through it. And the more education you have to weed through. Okay. So this podcast went really long and they have been.
Sorry.
So I'm going to finish it off with the story of Jessica.
My tantrum. No.
Jessica wanting a compound bow, and this is going to end it all. Okay.
Oh boy.
So we were doing a 3D shoot as we did every Sunday, and I drug my two daughters out. Right. Obviously one stuck, the other one did not stick. Jessica stuck to archery. My other one shoots guns.
Yeah, Stephanie went with guns.
Yeah, and she loves them. And she's good.
Insane at those.
Yeah, she's really
so
good.
good.
Yeah, so good. So Jessica really loved to shoot the 3D. And I used to buy arrows all the fucking time because these kids, they did stupid, crazy stuff. They would try. I want to try from back here and be like,
looking that way.
I'd be like, all right, my wallet hurts. So I didn't care because anything you did, if it worked or it didn't work, you learned something.
Always.
And I knew in the long run.
I still say that now for hunting. Yeah. Last hunting season, we just talked about that on the last ride home.
Right. So anyways, so we're at this 3D course and Jessica is really, I mean, when she shoots archery, she's crazy determined. And it was funny to see this like 4 to 5 year old, I think you're 5 to 6 years old.
Yeah.
So, you were like so stern, you have your hand on backwards and you're like all into this. The mosquitoes are on us. You weren't having a great time, but man, you were out to get it.
Yeah.
And you shot and your arrow bounced off because you were shooting a cheesy little recurve and you shot and it bounced off the animal for the last time. And then there was the Jessica tantrum. So if you know Jessica, you got to imagine one about 3 feet tall.
It's the shorter version.
Yeah. With just this 10 feet tall attitude. It was like she takes her hat off. She whips it on the ground. No, first you threw the bow on the ground. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah, you had your little hook. Remember the little
the little quiver hook.
Yeah, little quiver hook.
Yep, the little pink one.
Right. So you had
that.
Yeah, you had your little pink quiver hook and you threw your bow down on the ground. You're like, this thing is worthless. And then you took your hat off and you threw it down. And I'm just in awe. There's another guy over there like, whoa.
I feel like that's people now when I start to get mad. They're like,
yeah. So this dude was like, looking, he's like, remember we were at that one 3D target where like you shoot to the right was one target, you shoot to the left, there was another target, you go down the center, the lane and you shoot right and you shoot left. So he was like 2 targets over and he's just watching this to go down. Stephanie's watching it. And you're just like down. You want to kick the bow. You're like, oh man, you're talking, I've had enough. There's no use of having a bow and arrow if it doesn't stick. And all this, you're like 15 yards with like a 5-pound bow. And I'm like, shit, what's going on here? You're like, I'm not doing this. I get up early. I'm tired. The bugs are biting me. I mean, the whole world was coming down to it.
Just ending.
It was major meltdown. And your sister's like, it sounds like she's going to get some new toys. She's over there going, yeah. And you're
Keep going.
You're having this total meltdown and you're like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then you put your arms across your chest and you're like, that's it. I'm done.
I'm done.
Yes. Just like that. You're like, I'm done.
Louder.
And she's like, and then you're like, sorry, Dad, but it had to be said. And I'm like, wow.
I feel like
wow. And I was like, and it's like, so then I hear this in the woods about 2 targets over going, sounds like somebody's going to be making a purchase.
Yeah, we say that now.
Yeah.
When we see kids have tantrums now.
Yeah. So
we're like, ooh.
We went to a bow shop not far from there. And at that time, and I walk in and I said, I called and I said, hey, do you got any kids compound bows? I got to get an arrow to stick into a 3D target. He goes, I got a 40 to 50. And I'm like, you got a left hand? He's like, unbelievably, I have one. And I'm like, all right. And he goes, and I also have a right hand. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Oh, gosh. And I'm taking both of them.
And I got both of my kids with me. So we walked there and he took that 40 to 50 pound.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, you could take 6 turns out of it and he took 7.
Yeah.
So to make sure he could sell that fucking bow. I know now what he did. So he goes, and I go, if you can pull this,
right,
you can have it. And I'll never forget the look in your face. So you grabbed it. We had a release and you put a trigger on. You're like, let's go. I was like,
I don't do for empty threats.
Yeah. So that I'll never forget that owner. He looked at me. He's like, oh, fuck. And I'm like, yeah, man, this ain't going to end well for me. And he's like, it doesn't look like it. And you grabbed that bow and we put an arrow in it and he grabbed a Sharpie. because he was so he measured you up and he set that bow for your draw length.
Yep.
So you could pull it at your draw length because there was nobody else there. It was a Sunday afternoon.
Yep.
That shop was pretty much empty.
Just us.
Yeah. And his shop still is that way. But he looked at us and you grabbed that bow, and I'll never forget. You took your hat off, you took your jacket off, you grabbed that bow and you ripped that thing back right to your anchor. And I was like, and he just started with the marker, marking the arrows, marking the string. I'm like, oh shit. He saw a bow sale come out of nowhere. And he's like, oh shit.
Yep.
I'll never forget that day, because then your sister was like, why did she get one? I'm like, oh,
I remember shooting that arrow every time. My face was just like,
yeah. And then you released it and you're like, oh, and
I gotta have this.
Yeah.
I looked right at you and you're like, ring me up.
Yeah, ring me up. I said, you better get a righty. So I asked your sister almost didn't get it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she didn't want it as bad as you. You were sweating mad.
I was so mad.
I'll never forget that day. It was
I still get that way about my shooting.
20 some years ago. It was $725.
Yep.
And I didn't have a whole lot of money back then, but I spent it. And I'll never forget your mom going, so we're going to go out for dinner tonight? And I'm like, no, not anymore. Not for a month. We ain't going because we got to save our nickels.
I'm sorry, Mom.
Yeah. And we had, I'll never forget, in the back of the truck, we had the bows, and we put them in the back of the truck, not in the tailgate. We put them in the back because you didn't want them sliding around.
No, I wanted to look at it too. I was like holding it.
Yeah. You took it out and you walked into your room. Can I keep this under my bed? I said, absolutely.
You got to keep it locked.
Because now, just so everybody knows, I wasn't unsafe with my daughters.
Nope.
And everything else. But I taught you guys education.
Yep.
You passed hunter safety at 9 years old?
8.
8 years old.
I was 8 when I took it.
Right. Because I was an instructor and Stephanie was
10.
So, and we were there for Stephanie, and you were getting yours too. And you were like one of the first people done.
Yeah.
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 You were
I went through that test.
You were a good reader. So we're going to end that podcast on that note. Here's a little, so you got to hear the daddy-daughter podcast. How's that?
People have been asking about this one. So
yeah,
I'm glad
people have been asking. Yeah, we got to do it. And we'll probably do another one because we experienced the most.
Yeah.
This is more about the shop today than it was just general archery, but we hope you guys got them out for lessons and practice. If you don't live by us, make sure you go to a reputable small business owned shop, because the reason they're in business is because they love it.
Right.
All these shops out there, I've met tons and tons of owners at the ATA and with different factories, and we've gone through different stuff, and that you guys should all know that these people love archery. They're giving up things to do this.
Yeah.
So when you go in and give them a hard time, they hate you.
It's fairly simple. Yeah, you're ruining the love that we have.
They hate you, and all they want you to do is get out. So I know my daughter's like, there goes the fucking business again. But you know what? I'm not asking for fucking problems to come in my door.
We want you to come in with an open mind.
Don't be a Kelly.
It's forever our motto.
Yeah, that's forever our motto. Because you got people that don't like this and that, they're a Karen, but in archery, you're a fucking Kelly if you're an asshole.
Yes.
So I want everybody to know that if you have any questions, come see us. We answer everything that we possibly can. And if we can't, and I try to back everything up with knowledge and proof. Okay. Like if I don't like a certain string manufacturer, I show you why,
right.
and why I pick the manufacturers that I do that I sell here. So this is more of a shop podcast,
this was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. So we're going to let it go. It was really long, and we're like an hour and 10 minutes in, something like that, whatever it is. So we want everybody to know, thank you very much. Have a good, safe archery out there. Get ready. Get your bows tuned up soon. Get to your local archery store.
Yes.
Get help. Ask questions. Don't be frustrated. Come to us if you do one way, either media or in person. We'll make sure that you're having a happy archery time. And from me and Jess, thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you. This was fun. I can't wait to be back.
Bye-bye.
Bye.